True fans of the Marvel character Venom might know everything there is to know about the alien symbiote turned favorite anti-hero.
I know everything, Eddie.
You do?
But those of us who only got our first glimpse of the character in 2018, assuming we'd all rather pretend that whole emo Spider-Man thing didn't happen, want to know a little bit more about the mysterious and awesomely powerful character.
We are Venom.
Before Venom 2 hits theaters in October, we thought we'd take a moment to get to know its title character a little more. Way back in 1982, a Spider-Man comic book fan named Randy Schueller came up with the idea for a brand new suit for his favorite comic character. Editor-in-chief of Marvel, Jim Shooter, took an interest in the idea and purchased it from Schueller for the whopping sum of $220. Shooter then conceived of making it black and white, and after some collaboration with different Marvel writers and artists, the first self-healing alien symbiote suit was born. Venom himself as we know him didn't appear until 1988 in The Amazing Spider-Man number 300, when we saw the symbiote bond with Eddie Brock for the first time. Venom quickly developed a passionate fanbase, and his story grew more and more complex over the years, far surpassing his humble origins. As he became his own character and a formidable opponent to the Webslinger, he was given a whole host, get it, of incredible abilities. With all that out of the way, let's get into all the amazing things that Venom can do. Being an alien from outer space, the ability to exist without oxygen is a very important ability, and the symbiote has it in spades. But what about the human being who it's currently using as a host? You'd think that if Venom were to take a trip to space or deep underwater, that the body he was currently inhabiting wouldn't survive. Well, that's where Venom's ability to filter oxygen comes in very handy.
Watch out!
Venom.
Unleashes the power of oxygen!
While we don't quite know how he does it, he has proven multiple times that no matter the environment, Venom can use his abilities to get oxygen to his host so that they can both survive. Those of you out there who may have been hoping for a Venom love scene to take place at some point might be waiting a while. And look, no judgment here, we just think that you'll have a better time if you take that fanfiction into your own hands. Because while a horde of little Venom babies might sound adorable in a terrifying, disgusting kind of way, that's not really how these aliens do things. Venom reproduces asexually, like a plant.
Asexual what? Dynamo? Deviant? Harassment lawsuit waiting to happen?
Instead of the old birds and the bees situation, the symbiote leaves little pieces of its body mass behind, which then grow into entirely new symbiotes, just like spores do in nature. It was this method of reproduction that got everyone into trouble when Venom left a bit of himself behind in jail that then bonded with Cletus Cassidy and created Carnage. Whoops.
You did not find us. We found you.
If we learned anything from the classic piece of literature Everybody Poops, it's that digestion is a normal part of existence. Everyone from every corner of the animal kingdom digests, so why is Venom's ability to do so on this list? Well, most living creatures, other than bacteria, are intolerant to something, be it lactose, gluten, or whatever Gwyneth Paltrow says we shouldn't be eating. Today, every creature on the planet has something that makes them sick if they ingest it. It may be because he is very much not from this planet, but that's where Venom gets the best of us. There is nothing that he can't eat, and we envy him for that.
You have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Not today.
Hatred is very rarely a productive emotion, and tends to get us into more trouble than it's worth.
Hate leads to suffering.
But for Venom, it can actually make him stronger. When the symbiote's hatred for someone or something are matched with that of the host it's inhabiting, it actually strengthens the bond between them. This seems especially true when it comes to Spider-Man, seeing as how fixated Venom is on getting rid of him. It also explains how strong the connection between Cletus Cassidy and Carnage is, because as a complete psychopath, Cassidy has a fervent hatred for human beings that Carnage is completely on board with. Of course, like anything that comes from a place of rage, this power can flip really quickly, making Venom's behavior a whole lot more erratic. Back in the 1990s, the internet was still a new idea, and one that writers were quick to add into their stories.
Behold, The internet!
They explored the symbiote's relationship with the World Wide Web in the story arc Carnage Unleashed, in which Carnage actually developed a plot to destroy everyone who played a computer game based on his life. To do so, he basically entered the internet, and in order to stop him, Venom followed. He literally reverted to his goo-like form and went into a computer and then followed Carnage's signal to get online. Well, if that isn't the most adorably 1990s thing we've ever heard. Usually what makes for a fair fight between opponents is that they both have different sets of skills and abilities. So what happens when one of them actually has the power to clone and reproduce all of their opponent's powers? Just ask anyone Venom has ever gone up against. It is not fun. That's because Venom and all the other Clintar symbiotes have the same power. Whoever they bond with, they can copy their powers before moving on to the next. This is exactly the reason that in the comics, Venom has all the same abilities as Spider-Man, and can block himself from being detected by Peter Parker's spider sense.
I thought that you could sense that with your Peter Tinkle.
It's also why he won that Pulitzer after bonding with Eddie Brock. Just kidding. We mentioned before that Venom has the digestive powers that we can only dream about while we're over here chugging probiotics in a futile attempt to be able to eat cheese again. Oh, get that brie away from us, Linda. You don't want to know what'll happen if we take a bite. Anyway, his impressive stomach might be helped by the fact that his saliva is actually made of acid.
You gonna eat anybody else?
Along with his rows of devastatingly sharp teeth and that far too flexible tongue, Venom's spit has been given the classic alien treatment and can burn through whatever it touches. Oh yeah, we forgot to mention that his blood has the same acidic content, so even if you manage to puncture his skin, you're in for even more trouble. Cool. On the topic of trying to do any damage to Venom whatsoever, it's probably not going to go well for you. See, once you get past the acid spit... Hey, remember Dane Cook? Man, what a time that was. What were we saying? Oh yeah, if you were able to get close enough to actually wound the alien symbiote, it might not be as effective as you had hoped. See, because of his gooey, malleable makeup, Venom has the amazing ability to regrow parts of his body that might have been chopped off. He can just move some goop around and recreate parts of himself, including entire limbs. And he doesn't even have to wait for them to get back to their full size, unlike some people we know.
Why wouldn't you cover that up?
A warrior has nothing to be ashamed of.
As if he wasn't an intimidating enough opponent already, Venom has one ability that makes it nearly impossible to even see him coming. We already know that when he attaches to a host, he can blend in with them and become invisible to the outside world. But apart from that, when he's on his own, he can also camouflage himself in just about any way, meaning that he can blend in with his surroundings so well that he can move around completely undetected. This also means that he can turn his symbiote body into clothes for his host, the way he became a black suit for Spider-Man, or why Eddie Brock was always pictured in a black t-shirt. Who knew Venom was so goth? The symbiote's bonding is pretty much a complete takeover, but unlike other parasitic forms, the one thing he doesn't control is their brain. Sure, he gets an all-access pass to their thoughts and memories and can make them act out in strange ways, but he does need to communicate with the person he's taking over.
I am inside your head. You are a loser.
Which he does so telepathically. So add that to the list of reasons why you don't want to get on his bad side. It's also not just the hosts that he can telepathically communicate with. That's how he communicates with the rest of his species. It can be hard to look at the bright side of having your body taken over by an alien parasite with a grudge against a teenage superhero, but for Eddie Brock, there was one big plus. Before Eddie encountered Venom, things were not going so well for him. He was stifled by his job, left by his family, and recently diagnosed with an aggressive form of adrenal cancer. While adding Venom to the list might seem like another big slap in the face by the universe, his connection with the symbiote actually proved to halt Eddie's cancer in its tracks. He wasn't able to cure it or reverse the effects, but when bonded with Eddie, Venom actually kept him alive. Symbiotic relationships exist all over the natural world, whether they take the form of one animal grooming another while simultaneously feeding themselves, or the way bees collect nectar from plant life and in turn help the plants pollinate and grow their species. And yet, in nature, these relationships are usually pretty exclusive, without a lot of crossing species. Well, Venom isn't like most creatures, as the rest of this video has proven. Instead of only being able to bond with humans, Venom can do so with just about anyone, or anything. In the comics, he's even been seen to bond with a dinosaur. And in another issue, he bonded with a car. Where's that movie, Sony? We mentioned before that Venom doesn't have total control over the people or cars that he bonds with. But even if he isn't a complete dictator, he's pretty close. While bonded with a host, he can actually change and rearrange the chemical makeup of the body he inhabits. What does this mean exactly? Well, in one example, if he's tired of his hosts whining or wants to take over for a while, he can up their melatonin and make them fall asleep for as long as he wants. If his host tries to fight back against him, he can calm them down. He can also use this ability to make his host have lapses of memory or make them forget things altogether. Venom's powers stretch well beyond the physical world as well, in case you'd forgotten that he also belongs to an alien race that has existed for millennia. In one of his more otherworldly abilities, Venom can actually alter the fabric of space and time by creating things known as pocket dimensions. What are pocket dimensions, you ask? Well, we'll tell you. A pocket dimension is basically a very impressive fanny pack that Venom can create in space and time, allowing his host to store objects within them. One of the most notable times he did this was with Peter Parker and his camera. Since Peter was infamous for his impressive photos of Spider-Man, Venom created a little pocket for him in which to store his camera, so it was always readily available when he needed it without the bulk of carrying it around.
Perfect.
Finally, while most of the time when we talk about Venom it's in relation to a host, we can't forget that he is his own man. Or alien, but you know what we mean. Venom might be at his happiest when paired up, but that doesn't mean he isn't a force to be reckoned with on his own. Sure, he may always be searching for a new host like the main character of a romantic comedy about people who work in a magazine, but he can and does spend time on his own. In the comic book Venom Space Knight, he actually allows his host to have some alone time to sleep while taking on his own humanoid form. He can do a lot of things without his host, including piloting a spaceship all on his own. Man, we thought we knew a lot about Venom, but it turns out we'd been underestimating him this entire time. Now it's time to share your thoughts. What do you think about these amazing abilities? Did we miss out on some big ones that we just got to know about? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to keep up with all of our latest videos.